Hello, everyone. I'm Weijia Jiang in Washington, in for Major Garrett. Welcome to The Takeout. The political battle in Texas over redistricting remains in a heated deadlock. The state house once again failed to reach a quorum for the second day in a row as Democrats who fled remained outside the state in their effort to block the redrawing of the congressional map. Republicans voted to issue civil arrest warrants for those Democrats. They remain defiant, though. Those warrants effectively symbolic, as state authorities are powerless to make arrests outside of Texas. The issue only escalating, though, as California Governor Gavin Newsom says he has a redistricting plan ready to go for his state if Texas passes theirs. And President Trump, the one who initiated this move in the first place, weighing in again about getting those 5 House seats. We start right there from White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, it's great to see you. So I want to play first what President Trump said this morning during an interview with CNBC about this redistricting fight.
You notice they go to Illinois for safety, but that's all gerrymandered. California's gerrymandered. We should have many more seats in Congress in California. It's all gerrymandered. And we have an opportunity in Texas to pick up 5 seats. We have a really good governor, and we have good people in Texas. And I won Texas. I got the highest vote in the history of Texas, as you probably know. And we are entitled to 5 more seats.
So, Olivia, President Trump has made clear what he wants. How is the White House handling this standoff?
Well, Weijia, you heard the president there say they're entitled to these 5 more seats. And in reality, what they're looking at is 2026 and those midterms. That's why this is happening, because the White House has seen that the one big, beautiful bill that was passed is polling particularly low among Americans. Our own CBS polling found that as well. So in an effort to really insulate them from perhaps changes to the House majority in the 2026 midterms, they're getting ahead of it with the president saying he wants 5 more seats in Texas, and even they're entitled to. And the reason why they're saying they can do this is him pointing to Illinois and California saying, well, they've done it, so why can't we? So the White House really making a PR pitch effort today, and CNBC with Trump going out there saying that this is something they're pursuing and that they hope Texas Democrats are able to accomplish it. Texas Republicans, excuse me.
Olivia, it's pretty clear that for now, at least, these Democrats aren't going anywhere. Has the president or the White House indicated that they're going to use any federal resources to try to change that and bring them back to Texas?
Well, it's one of the outstanding questions we have to the White House today. What are you going to do in order to bring them back from Illinois and New York and all these places where these Texas Democrats are seeking shelter? Whether they'll use those federal resources, because as you mentioned, even though Governor Greg Abbott said that he wants to use Texas law enforcement, they really don't have jurisdiction outside of Texas. So they're kind of in this wait-and-see mode as of right now. But Senator John Cornyn of Texas actually sent a letter to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, saying that this is time sensitive. They want to have those Texas Democrats back, and therefore he is asking for the FBI's help to bring them back to this state. Weijia, that would amount to certainly an escalation in this fight.
And Olivia, as this all unfolds, there's a pretty prominent Democratic governor, Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer, who met with the president at the White House today. She's done so several times already this year. Why was she there?
Well, I'm told by sources that this was actually a request that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer made several weeks ago when she had some federal funding that was approved for a disaster that happened in Michigan. When she was on the phone with the president, allegedly she asked him if she could come visit to talk about how tariffs and Medicaid are impacting people in Michigan. There's also an air base out in Michigan called Selfridge that she's been working to get more fighter pilots out of. So that's something they've been working on the White House with. But the timing of it is always interesting, Weijia, because of course you see governors in Illinois, New York, and California allying with Texas, and then you have Governor Gretchen Whitmer here at the White House.
Yes, it's a very interesting optic. Thank you so much, Olivia Rinaldi. Joining us now is former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree. Tom, it's so great to have you here. So we just heard some of the details about what's happening, and we know that Governor Greg Abbott has ordered the civil arrest of those Democratic lawmakers who fled. But how does that work? Do they have any way to arrest them outside of Texas?
It's a tough process for the governor of Texas. Typically, Texas law enforcement authorities, whether it's the Texas Rangers or others, their jurisdiction is confined to the state of Texas. They don't have a roving mandate to go around the United States and grab people from other states and bring them in. I think if the Texas governor wants to enforce this order, he's going to need to enlist some other law enforcement authority, either the law enforcement authority of the states where the Democrats have fled to, or possibly the federal government. We've heard that they've tried to get the FBI interested in this, maybe helping them enforce it. I think that could be a bit of a stretch. Typically, this is not something that the Federal Bureau of Investigation would enforce, but the governor is limited in that he really can't send his particular Texas authorities out through the United States to enforce Texas law.
What about removing them from office? Can he do that?
You know, they've talked about going after them under an abandonment theory, that the idea is being these Democrats have simply abandoned their duties as state legislators. It's an untested theory. Personally, I think it's probably a tough theory to get at. It's not clear to me that they've really abandoned their jobs. They've really made a strategic decision to deprive the legislature of the quorum that it needs. But look, if Governor Abbott actually pursued this and tried to remove them from office, it's something that would be litigated up through the Texas courts. And it's possible that a Texas judge, particularly one that's sympathetic to the governor, could find a basis for abandonment. But again, it's an untested, novel legal theory, and I think it would be an uphill battle.
Can you help us understand the legality of the redistricting plan in the first place? I imagine some folks are wondering, wait a minute, how can you just redraw a map because you want more, members of Congress from your party?
The idea of redistricting is something that has bedeviled courts in the United States really from the founding. I mean, the whole idea of a gerrymander actually comes from one of the founders, Elmer's Gerry. In this case, what's happening is Texas is trying to do what's known as a political gerrymander, where they want to redraw the districts to maximize the number of Republicans that get elected. Whether or not it's legal, certainly it will get challenged in the courts. But look, the fact is the United States Supreme Court has been fairly deferential to state efforts to redistrict. They've said this is not something that we, the courts, want to get involved in. We're going to leave it to the political process. So the truth is states do have pretty broad discretion in how they want to draw their district lines, even when they wind up looking like something absolutely crazy, like a salamander or something else snaking through the state. The courts have typically said this is a job for the politicians, not for the judges.
And to be clear, it's not just Republican states. Democratic states have attempted to do this as well. New York's got struck down after the last census.
And Illinois,
right?
Too. Yeah.
And now Governor Gavin Newsom over in California is saying, wait a minute, I have a reptile ready to draw as well. Can he do that?
Well, yes. I mean, look, we've seen, as you note, other states, New York, Illinois, maybe California, they too have done these political gerrymanders. And what they are saying to Governor Abbott, and frankly to any other red state governor who might get the itch to redistrict, two can play at this game. If you guys are going to go all out, maximize the number of Republican seats, we're going to do the same thing and maximize the number of Democratic seats. Some states have already done it. Illinois is heavily partisan, gerrymandered in favor of Democrats. I think maybe that's kind of what Texas looked at with a bit of envy and said, we want to do the same thing here for Republicans. But yes, Gavin Newsom, other Democratic governors are paying very close attention to what's going on in Texas and saying, if you are able to get this through in your state, we're going to do the same here.
Yeah, he says he is not rolling over to the Republicans. And Tom, thank you so much for always making us smarter.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it.